Hi, today we're going to talk about healing your gut, improving your gut health. If you didn't know, there is a huge connection between your brain and your gut. Some people like to say that the gut is the second brain, and there is the central nervous system and the enteric nervous system, which the gut brain axis exists upon and through. So the enteric nervous system controls your digestive system. Now, the brain and the gut are mainly interacting through your vagus nerve, which sends signals through your brain, your heart, and your digestive system. There's also hormones and immune things that communicate with each other. But your brain and your gut are super duper connected. And so I love that these new studies and findings are coming out because we can see why sometimes if we eat something bad, it upsets our brain. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kira, and I am a holistic food and wellness leader. If you're not new here, welcome back. You know we're about to get into some holistic health information. And go ahead, like and subscribe, turn on your notification bell, all that good stuff. We are going to comment something later. So I'll tell you something to comment later. But I don't want to get into how we're going to improve our gut health. And then we're going to go into improving our gut health a little bit untraditionally. Because remember, I mentioned the vagus nerve, which connects your brain and your gut signals, connect through there. It also interacts with your heart. So, first things first, guys, we need some probiotics. Probiotics are beneficial bacteria and yeasts that are in certain foods and live in your gut, and they help keep your gut lining nice. They help your digestive system, they help with your immunity. And the way that you get these probiotics, you can get them in food, which is my favorite way of getting them. Of course, we love nutrition. The second way is supplements. Supplementing is not my favorite, but it's good if you want it. Just do it easy. Just take a supplement every day. But foods such as yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, drinks like kombucha, kefir, all those have probiotic foods. And the way that you can shop for probiotic foods in the supermarket is if it says living on it. It'll say like probiotic or living, fermented. Make sure it's fermented and it's living. There are things that are pickled that are sometimes fermented but are sometimes quick pickled, which doesn't involve the fermentation process. So things like pickled onions can be probiotics if they were fermented to become pickled and not quick pickled, which involves boiling and all that. And sometimes sauerkraut and kimchi and stuff can be pasteurized, so it kind of kills that good bacteria that you want for shelf stability, so it lasts long. Although probiotic foods can last very long, you want to make sure that the label says living probiotic or fermented living. Just it needs to say alive. My favorite probiotic at the moment, super easy for me to use, is the cocoa yogurt. I'll insert a picture for y'all. It is living and it has those little fizziness that dances on your tongue when you eat it because it's living and it's alive. And so I'll take a spoonful or 2 spoonfuls of that a day, and that helps me get my probiotics in. Coconut Coat is good too. I just prefer cocoa because it's young coconut, it's living. So you want those probiotics. A lot of us are missing those, especially Americans, especially my black people. We are missing that. The Asians got it down because they do a lot of probiotic foods, a lot of pickled foods, and they know how to do the fermentation process. But we need to get into our probiotics. So once you get your probiotics in order, you're gonna want to get some prebiotics, because those probiotics, which are those microorganisms, they need food too, which are the prebiotics. Now, prebiotics are basically non-digestible plant foods. And so when you eat certain plant foods, there's going to be things left over that the probiotics or microorganisms or good gut bacteria are going to eat. And so you want to keep feeding them with those plant foods. Prebiotics are super important because they help with your digestion. They help make sure that your bowel movements are good. And plant foods in general are really good because they have fiber. So that's also going to go with our point of prebiotics, since prebiotics come from plant foods. Include those plant foods. You need that fiber. Fiber makes sure that you have regular bowel movements. If you're not going to the bathroom regularly, your gut is going to be messed up. And when I say regularly, I mean a decent amount. You don't want to be going too much. Okay, 6-7 times a day, that's a bit much. And you don't want to go too little. Once a day is kind of a little. And less than once a day, as in you're not going to the bathroom every day, definitely a problem. You want to be in that good range where it's like 3 to 5. 2 is okay. I know 2 is kind of common, which is pretty good still. But once you hit that 3, when you go to the bathroom 3 times a day, you're good. Right? 5 times a day, you must have really been like on a good detox or cleanse. But if you're going 6-7 times, that might mean, your digestive system it's not regular. It's pretty fast. It's too fast. And when there's constipation and you're not going every day, it's slow. So you need that fiber to kind of bulk up your stool and get things moving regularly. That fiber is so important. A lot of people are missing fiber. There is no fiber in meat. If you're eating a lot of meat, there's no fiber in that. You need some plants or some foods that have some really good fiber. All right. So we went over our prebiotics and our probiotics. Now let's go into a little bit more of our nutrition, which is super important. You need to be eating less sugar, less processed foods, and no foods that you are allergic to, or less foods that you're allergic to. And when I'm talking about allergies, I'm not talking about people have allergies and they need an EpiPen. I'm talking about allergies where it's like you eat this and you get a little rash, but you kind of ignore it. You eat this thing and then your stomach gets bloated, but you kind of ignore it. You eat this thing and you get a pimple, but you ignore it. Those are allergies too, because anything that your body does not like is an allergy. Your body don't like it. Other things that are really, really top allergies, people have a really negative reaction to it. Those are the things we consider allergies, but there's multiple types of allergies, okay? There's levels to this allergy stuff. So eliminate your allergies. You're going to know what you're allergic to by observing what happens to your body when you eat that specific food. So keep track of that. Keep a food journal. Write down what you eat, how you feel that day or after eating it, and then also the next following days. Now, less sugar and less processed foods is imperative if you want to have good gut health. And when I say sugar, I mean those highly processed sugar. Things like honey, maple syrup, maybe a little coconut sugar here and there. Okay, that's fine. But when you're doing the white sugar, the cane white sugar, I don't care if it's organic, any white sugar and cane sugar, it's organic. Sometimes the cane sugar is okay, but too much cane sugar is not good. The reason is because it's so highly processed and it's taking away the good nutrients. Like you might be like, oh, the cane sugar is from a sugar cane. Well, listen, the process that it goes through is taking away all the nutrients from it, and it's giving you like a crystallized concentration of sugar, which is a lot for your body to handle. Your mitochondria turns sugar into ATP, but it can only do so much. You know what I'm saying? Like with that sugar, and those good sugars from fruits are the best to get that energy. When you eat those highly processed sugar, you're like injecting yourself almost. It's like drugging yourself, and that's why your body wants the sugar so often, because it's highly concentrated. It's the same thing why people are addicted to dairy and cheese. It's highly concentrated compounds that your brain loves and is addicted to. And so when you don't have those nutrients and that fiber balancing out that sugar, it's not going to go over well inside of your body. Your brain is going to freak out like, yeah, sugar. It's going to want a bunch of sugar. And it's inflammatory. It causes inflammation in your body, both sugar and processed foods. Processed foods are highly fake foods, those things that go through ultra processing. Most things, and people will try to make arguments like, oh, if I cut an onion, I'm processing it, because any type of change to a food is technically processing. When I say processed foods, let's be real specific here. We're talking about those foods that you cannot recreate at home easily. You will need some type of tool and technology or fake chemical and compound to create that at home. We're not doing that. No processed foods. If you're going to make potato chips, make them yourself. Don't rely on those potato chips. Now, a bag of potato chips here and there, right? Everything in moderation. I'm not telling you to go. Actually, if that's what you feel, and you feel like you need to cut completely certain things, then do that. Because I have gone through times like that, and I know that if I do eat some processed potato chips from the store, it's depending on the brand and exactly in the ingredients, it can make me feel off. And you need a certain amount of time without these processed foods to understand how you feel without them, so that when you bring it back and there's a change, you're like, oh, I don't like this change. And so I'm actually going to continue leaving this food out. Processed foods are not good for your gut. They're fake. What is your body doing with fake food? It doesn't have the nutrients. That's what your body responds to. God made us very specifically. God made the food very specific, and there's something called the food matrix, which is how all the compounds in the food work together and have effects together and benefit us inside our bodies as well. So do some research on that too, because it's just proof that we need to eat real whole foods. Now, let's get into the juicy of how you're going to fix your gut health, because like we mentioned, the gut and the brain are connected. And so you can use your brain to kind of fight back. But also, if that gut is messed up, it's going to be fighting against your brain, right? And you might be living in a consistent state of just being not okay, and that's your standard. So it's like, oh, you think you're okay. But when you fix your gut and you fix your brain and you go to the next level, and it's like, dang, I really was not okay back then, even though I felt okay because I was living on that standard. You're gonna love me for this. Let's get into it. So, improving your mental health. First of all, you're gonna want to do a social cleanup. All right, social is very important. Let's go through social media first, because we're going to get into the real life socials next. But social media, most of us are using it. You're watching this right now, you're on social media. You need to be consuming content that aligns with you and that you desire to see and fulfills you and makes you feel positive. Nothing that makes you feel afraid or fearful, or is just really like not too much of the silly, goofy stuff. We love the silly, goofy stuff, but too much of it is really making us dumber, making you silly and stupid if you watch too much of it. So clean up your feed. You can easily clean up your feeds on social media by, if you see a video, there's usually, those 3 dots or a share button or something that you can click and say, not interested, or show me less stuff like this. Find that button, and every time you see a video that you don't want to see, or that you don't feel isn't going to be making you into a better person, making you grow, supporting your mental health, then click that button and say not interested. Because what happens is, once we consume these types of media that are negative, right, it's affecting our brain. Now, it's going to be very hard for our bellies to want to eat healthy food if our brain is not healthy. Think about movies and stuff, right? When someone's going through a breakup and they're really sad, they reach for a pint of ice cream, which is not healthy unless you're eating Fronen ice cream. Not sponsored, guys. I love that ice cream, super clean ingredients, but it's because our brains and our guts are so connected with our emotions and emotional eating. we will reach for certain foods based on our mood, based on how we feel. So if you're feeling afraid, you might reach for something that is on that same vibration. Feel me? So you want to be eating things or you want to be consuming things and your brain, feeding your brain food that's actually healthy, because you start watching content of people waking up early, going to the gym, healing themselves, eating healthy food, learning about health and wellness. What's your belly gonna want? Health. Your belly is going to want to be healthy and do all those things. So clean up your social media. Now, you're gonna want to clean up your social life as well, because we share gut bacteria with the people that we're around. We're eating together, we're playing together, we're touching the same things, right? So bacteria gets shared, and then that creates our gut microbiome. And then that also affects our mental health. If you're around negative people, dead that relationship. Love them, but see ya. Gotta go. All right? People who do drugs, people who do alcohol or drink alcohol, vape, smoke weed, all these things are going to bring you down mentally. And there's some people who can function at a high level with weed. Very, very rare. Okay? And even then, their brains are still shrinking. Okay? So be very careful about who you surround yourself with, because your gut is going to resemble their gut and vice versa. You want to be a person who people want to surround themselves with, because you're taking care of yourself. We eat together as a community. If you're around people who do not eat the same way as you, you have to have the willpower to not eat certain things socially, which is hard. But it can be done. I do it all the time. Sorry, no, I'm not going to eat that. Or actually, I'll have a little bit of this, a little bit of this. What's in this? Can you tell me what's in this again? Like, you just got to ask questions. You got to be strict, run a strict program, because you want your belly to be flat. You want your belly to be healthy. You want regular bowel movements, and you want your brain to be on pissy point. All right. Now, we got the socials out the way. We're going to do a music and TV cleanup, because that's also feeding your brain. The music you listen to, if there's a lot of profanity, if it's a lot of like sexual salaciousness and lasciviousness and just lust, or if it's just negative and devilish, demonic, like all these things are in your brain and affecting your brain. Okay? And the same thing with TV. If you're watching TV and people are ghetto and loud and or killing people and criminals, and like we can indulge in that a little bit, but notice how it's affecting you and how it's affecting the way that you see the world, because it's probably not a reflection of the real world, and it's probably desensitizing you to certain things, like all these shows about murder, watching people kill, like looking at someone's blood spill out on a screen. That's desensitizing you to murder. Same thing with the news, desensitizing us. Like, and these are things that we should be aware of and feeling and taking note of how we feel once we do that, right? If you're watching the news at breakfast and it's bringing you down, you're probably going to want to reach for food that's also going to bring you down. All right, so clean up your music, positive music. And the music thing is crazy, because music is so powerful, and it's because we repeat the words that they say. Now, there's power in the tongue. The words that we say are so powerful. They create our mindset. Okay, God creates the world around us, but our words kind of create our worldview of what actually is going on in the world that God has created, the beautiful world that God has created. So if we're saying something and it's like, baby, you a hoe, like something like that, what is that? Like, you're saying these things, it's in your mind. Now, as women, I'll speak for us specifically, especially with the toxic music that certain male artists make. It can make us feel less than and make us feel like we gotta dress a certain way or look a certain way to please a man, to attract a man. And do you really want that mindset? No. Listen to something that is positive. There's so much positive feminine energy music, so much positive masculine energy music. There's artists who are making music deliberately with affirmations that make you feel good. Positive music, gospel music, worship music, where we're praising the Lord, where we're grateful. All right, and there's rap artists who make gospel music. So get into that, clean up your music, and clean up your TV. TV is when I stopped watching Netflix, y'all. I watch YouTube podcasts, and I might go to the movies with my family or something, but even that, I really don't like going to the movies because there's a lot of subliminal demonic messages in the movies. Hey, I'm one of those people, guys. We're conspiracy theorists, but it's not even really a conspiracy. It's real. And so I stopped watching TV because I don't want certain things in my brain, and to think that it's okay to talk to someone a certain way and be rude to them. Like, I see that on TV, and I just don't mess with that. I want good relationships. I want to know what's good and what's bad and feel it, and I want my gut to feel good as well, because remember, super connected. So with all that being said, we want to put in our healthy brain food, right? So our eyes, we need to see things that are healthy for us. Our ears, we need to hear things that are healthy for us. We need to educate ourselves and spend your time empowering your brain through things like art, puzzles, things that exercise your brain and make it stronger, because it's going to make your gut stronger. And those things are connected through the vagus nerve. And we mentioned also that the heart is also connected to the vagus nerve. Now, I studied the chakras, and I don't believe in opening the chakras, but I do believe that there is some truth to the way that our energy can sit in our hearts and our brains and our digestive system, and then those different locations of where the chakras are. And the fact that the vagus nerve is connected to the heart, the brain, and the gut, it just shows like, okay, you get a heartbreak, now you're sad, and now your gut wants ice cream or chips, or like you want to feel like you feel down, you feel sad, maybe you didn't get the job, right? And it causes a little pain in your heart. Now you're sad, and like you feel like the world's ending and it's against you. Then you reach for fast food. Like, I love the heart. All things flow from the heart, okay? Protect your heart above all things. That is a Bible verse, because the things of life flow from it. And it's true. Our hearts are always interacting with the things around us. So protect your heart and guide your heart. That also comes with everything that we talked about with TV and music and the people around us. All right. These are portals. Our eyes, like, this is taking in everything. Our ears are taking in everything. Our mouth is another portal that takes in stuff. All right. Our nose too, kind of with the scent, but that's really just, we gotta breathe. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and comment the one thing that you're gonna start doing to protect your brain and your gut that we talked about. I will see you in the next one. Stay healthy. Oh wait, I forgot to mention fitness. Of course, exercise, everybody. So exercise, we're gonna talk about some things next week to do a nice spring cleanup, a wellness check for yourself so you can live happier, longer, and healthier. Stay golden.